Welcome on into the Wolverine.com podcast. Clayton Safey here with Anthony Broom and Chris Ballas on Thursday, heading into Michigan against Nebraska this weekend. We'll preview it. We'll get our predictions. At the end of the show, we'll pick games from around college football in our final segment, No Man Knows the Future. If you're with us on YouTube, make sure to give us a like. If you are hoping the Michigan Wolverines pull out a victory this weekend, hit that thumbs up button. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Leave a comment with your final score prediction. How's this game going to go? What does Michigan need to do to win? Drop a comment here on YouTube. And as always, head to thewolverine.com. You can use the promo code UM1 right now for 2 months of premium access for just $1. That is UM1, 50 cents a month over the next 2. And it is going to be an exciting next couple months here for the Wolverines. It's Carol Frost week. We were just talking about it off air. It's exciting. Staff predictions will be going up on the site. And Chris, the Carol Frost letter, I guess, is making a reappearance.
It will make a reappearance, not in staff picks, but on our message board, Carol.
Okay.
We appreciate you writing to us after we eviscerated your Scotty in 2005. Did you know she was a 68 Olympian?
I got that message came across. Yeah,
that message came across because she included that in her goodbye. So that was fantastic. Scott's gone. He's a distant memory, and they replaced him with a bigger DB in Matt Rule. So anyway, we can talk about that here in a few minutes.
Oh boy, they're putting the target on our backs this week.
I love the Nebraska tradition. I love their fan base. I really do. I like everything about Nebraska, with the exception of their coaches. They seem to make some bad decisions, and I think that the records kind of back that up over the years.
I'm just excited for the game. Big Ten opener, another one of those coin flip type of games. Of course, we'll break it down and talk about it. But, coming off of, so many things about the trip to Norman reminded me of going to Nebraska, from the fan base to the stadium, what have you. So to kind of run that back 2 weeks later, it's going to be a cool atmosphere. This is kind of a big inflection point game for their fans and that program, and a huge game for Michigan as well. This is, I don't think a college football playoff spot can be won or lost this week, so to speak, but this is one of those early pecking order games where, hey, you find a way to win this one, and you can start talking yourself into what that path might look like for your football team. So super excited for that.
I think that, you'd still be alive. I mean, either team, of course, including Michigan, even with the one loss. But I think if you don't make the playoff and you're Michigan and you lose this game, you're going to look back and say that was one you could have had. Now we'll see how, Oklahoma does the rest of the way. They look pretty good. We'll see how Nebraska does the rest of the season, win or lose, and see how that win or loss ages. But this is one I think you definitely feel like you can go out and get. Michigan's favored by 2.5 right now on BetMGM. Michigan leads the all-time series with Nebraska 8-4-1. They're 2-1-1 in Lincoln. Wins there the last 2 times they went there, 2023 and 2021. They've won 4 in a row over the Cornhuskers overall. And Nebraska has lost 27 straight games against ranked opponents, going all the way back to when they beat number 22 Oregon in 2016, 35-32 in October of that year in Lincoln. They're 0-5 over the last 2 years over ranked opponents under Matt Rule. So they're searching for that marquee win, as you kind of mentioned there, Anthony. And they come in 3-0, a 20-17 win over Cincinnati at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, 68-0 over Akron, and 59-7 over Houston Christian, which I didn't know was a football program until I watched some of that game the other night. Watched the first half.
It's actually a choir, but they get an opponent, so they put them on the schedule.
Yeah. Exactly. But Matt Rule's in year 3 of building that program, coming off of the disaster that was the Scott Frost era. And he's done well in year 3 throughout his time as a head coach, 10-4 at Temple, 11-3 at Baylor. And, he rebuilt the Baylor program from essentially nothing. So they're kind of hoping that they have similar fortunes here this year, but it's a different beast in today's Big Ten. But this is kind of their marquee home game of the season. They also host USC, but I mean, there are rumors about Bud Crawford coming off of the Canelo Alvarez win in Vegas last weekend, leading the team out of the tunnel, and they're honoring the 1995 national championship team. Perfect opportunity if you're Michigan to walk into their trap, take over their trap.
I'm not familiar with Bud Crawford, I'll be honest. Is that a boxer?
He's a world champ. Yes, he's a boxer. Yeah.
Okay. Well, congratulations, Bud. So boxing's been dead for decades. There hasn't been so anyway, I mean, back to the Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray days for me. So regardless, it's a huge game for them. And that's why I'm hesitant. And we'll talk about this, I'm sure, in a few minutes to predict a Michigan win there, just because they haven't been good on the road under Sharon Moore. This is a huge game for them, for Nebraska. I don't think that Nebraska's a more talented team, and I took some crap for that, I guess, on the Nebraska boards from their great fans. But if you look, just go down the roster and look, okay, at a few positions, I think they're stronger, but I think that Michigan overall is a more talented football team with more athletes. So this is a game that Michigan could win. Will they win? Depends on how well they play. And what's interesting, guys, and I hate to say it, but Oklahoma seemed to have Sharon Moore's fingerprints all over that game plan, right? We're going to shorten the game. And Chip Lindsey said, we're going to shorten the game. We were going to take the air out of the ball. And that to me was absolute the way Sharon Moore liked to win under Jim Harbaugh, won last year a couple times. I think maybe not having him there to kind of pull the reins in and might be better for this Michigan team. I'm not saying they're better without their head coach. I'm just saying that I think you're going to see the game plan that we saw last week. They aren't going to stray for it. They aren't going to stray from it. They aren't going to panic if things start to go poorly and go into a shell. That's going to make them easier to defend, because I think the best way to win this game is to let Bryce Underwood play. So it's going to be fascinating to see how Underwood does in that environment. It's going to be tough, guys, even though this is not the same defense as much as they want to think they are. Nebraska is not as good defensively as Oklahoma. That you still have to execute. That offensive line has to play better, and you're going to have some young guys in there that haven't played a lot of football. So going to be a tough one down there, but I love this trip. We're going to see our friend Dr. Bajwa down there. He's a Wolverine in enemy territory. We love you, Doc. And again, I can't stress enough how much I respect the program and the tradition down there. God bless them, man. They deserve better than they've had, especially the last several years.
Yeah, I'm excited to actually kind of see Lincoln this time. The last trip we made, Chris, you didn't go because you were sick. I had travel issues and was in town for maybe 16 hours, saw the game, and that was about it. So excited to explore a little bit on Saturday before the game. This is, the whole Matt Rule in year 3 thing is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here in terms of the narratives. A lot of people on that side of the matchup, even a lot of the national stuff I've watched this week is, if not now, when? When is the Nebraska going to have that signature we're back type of moment? And I think Michigan has a great chance to, put that on the shelf for at least a couple weeks here. Now, Nebraska, this isn't a do or die game for them. I think there's more pressure on them. I think when you look at their schedule, there's a lot of runway for the Cornhuskers. The last 8 or 9 weeks is, if you're watching online here, it's up on the screen. But really, late in the year, you've got the game against USC at home. You're going to go play at Penn State. This is one that if you feel like you're a playoff team, you'd rather have that bird in hand, the same way that Michigan in a couple weeks. Yeah, there's going to be another opportunity when you go play at USC, but you've got the bird in hand right now. You let one slip away at Oklahoma. So really, despite the programs being in different spots, really similar sort of outcome on the table for them for what the rest of their season could look like.
Yeah, it's massive for Michigan. Otherwise you're 2-2, and like you said, you go to USC in a couple of weeks. Hard to win out west, and USC has looked good so far this season. And you could be 3-3 coming out of that, or you continue to you keep your playoff chances alive. I think they would skyrocket with a win over Nebraska. And if you lose this game, you're 9-7 in the regular season under Sharon Moore. You're 5-5 in Big Ten games under Sharon Moore. I know he won't be there this weekend. It's such an interesting, couple weeks here for Michigan without him, but you had him last week during the game plan, but you don't have him this week during the week. So a huge game for both teams nonetheless. Let's break down the Michigan offense, talk a little bit more about them against the Nebraska defense. And, as much as, they kind of played the way they did against Oklahoma. By all accounts, they showed some remorse for that, which you have to give them credit for, and feel like they're going to play to their strength, which one of them is Bryce Underwood at this point, and let him run, let him throw down the field a little bit more. You're going against a Nebraska defense that ranks number 1 in the country right now in pass defense. Of course, so early to actually go by yards per game totals, but they have not allowed over 100 yards passing 3 consecutive games, first time since 1990 that they've done that. Opponents are completing just 50% of their passes against them, 3 yards per attempt, no pass play over 19 yards against this Nebraska defense. The weakness of the defense is up front. They got run on quite a bit by Cincinnati. They averaged 6.7 yards per carry. Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback, ran for over 7 yards a carry, couple touchdowns. There were a lot of lanes there. It doesn't look like a super fast front seven. So I think Justice Haynes will have some opportunities there. But your guys' thoughts on this Michigan offense going in against a defense? And could the number 1 defense thing be a motivator? Because last time Michigan came into Nebraska, they were the number 1 rush defense. And all you heard from the players when we talked to them after Michigan destroyed them 45-7 was, oh, yeah, they had the number 1 run D. Like, we wanted to go in and prove we were better, and they did.
They haven't played anybody to know how good they really are. Let's be fair and honest here. They should have lost to Cincinnati, if we're being blunt, right? That's thought number 1. And you can kind of say the same thing about Michigan, having put up big numbers against 2 teams that they overmatched and then just absolutely got eviscerated by Oklahoma in an embarrassing loss there. So this is the litmus test game for both teams. And it's going to come down to the Michigan offensive line, right? I do believe that Justice Haynes is going to have a big game again. He will be the workhorse. He's been the back for Michigan. Jordan Marshall started showing signs of life against Central Michigan and kind of the back that we thought he would be. He still has another gear, guys. There's no question about it. Everybody's saying the same thing. Maybe he's pressing a little bit. And sometimes it's natural, right? As much as these 2 guys really like and respect each other, when you've got a guy like that that's playing in front of you, the pressure's on, right, to perform if you want to get your snaps because Haynes is just that good. So to me, it's going to come down to pass protection. It's going to come down to the game plan. It's going to come down to the Michigan receivers getting separation at the line. Oklahoma had 0 respect for the Michigan receiving corps, and they played like that, and it really played to their advantage. Now, it did create some opportunities that Bryce Underwood missed. We can't put it all on one group. We can't put it all on the offensive line. We can't put it all on the receivers. We can't put it all on Underwood. They all had their issues. Even Max Bredesen, guys, did not play a good game against Oklahoma. So, but to me, they are going to take their chances with the Michigan receivers, try to take Bryce Underwood out of the game and make him think a little bit too much and rattle him the way that Oklahoma did. They don't have the same defense, the front 7 that Oklahoma did, but that atmosphere, it's tougher, right, guys, when you're going silent count. So it's going to make it tougher for them. It's going to make it hard. So it's going to, a lot of it, I think, is going to come down to the running game. And we'll see. I do expect Jake Guarnera to start again at right guard. He had a really nice game against Central Michigan. And again, it's just Central Michigan, but he and Nathan Afobe at guards really make me a little bit nervous there. And honestly, Evan Link still makes me a little bit nervous at left guard and Greg Crippen at center. So this is a big moment for these guys to prove that, hey, we can do this in a tough environment against a defense that they really should be able to handle.
Yeah, for as much talk as there was last week about, they'll open up the offense and Bryce Underwood's chucking the ball down the field and they've got they're being super aggressive. I almost feel like this is a game where you do win via the run game, but it's with Underwood involved in helping out that offensive line. Something that we talked about a few times this week with Michigan players, Michigan coaches, is that, once you put that quarterback run threat on film, it does change the math of what you see in the box. And for the offensive line, it's a numbers game. Like, there are less people to block if you have a guy that is sort of staying back and spying the quarterback. So I think that building off of that is critical this week. Certainly, I think that Nebraska's defensive line, I think there are some question marks there. So whatever group that plays better between a Michigan offensive line that has a lot of questions and a Nebraska defensive line that has a lot of questions is probably going to be the team that wins this football game. So I don't want to boil it down to that, it being that simple, but you also, I talk about how the run game is important. you got to trust Bryce Underwood to make a play down the field as well at some point. And I think a big key in this game in general is going to be which team does cut its quarterback loose, give them a chance to make plays down the field. And we'll talk about how that applies to Nebraska and Dylan Raiola here in a bit, but use that skill set. And if you go down making a mistake, you just can't be risk averse. I think at this point, last week was sort of proof of concept of what can happen when you let your dual threat freshman quarterback do what he was brought here to do. But I think it's going to have to be a mixture of that with vintage meat and potatoes, win the line of scrimmage, run the football well, sustain drives as well.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of opportunities are there down the field. I don't think that this Nebraska defense is very good at rushing the passer. And so I don't think, Underwood's going to be under duress as much as he was against Oklahoma. When you look at Nebraska's defense, they're 81st in the country right now in pressure rate, 32.1%. That's 17th in the Big Ten. Only UCLA is worse. Now, they've only blitzed 21 times through 3 games. I would imagine that number goes up and they play a little more aggressive and try to get pressure, do whatever they can to get pressure. And like you said, Chris, maybe they don't respect the Michigan receivers as much, so you bring more guys. But that could open some opportunities up down the field. Or if that pass rush doesn't get home and nobody's open, Underwood now feels more comfortable just tucking it and running. And those could be some huge plays in this game now that they've kind of cut him loose a little bit more. But I think having gone through the experience they did against Oklahoma, Bryce Underwood's been there in a big-time environment against a red team. It's weird. They're playing red teams like every week. But, he has seen that. He knows what it feels like. He knows what it's like to have the silent count. The offensive line, they've communicated together before, some different guys in there. But, especially if Guarnera does start and Brady Norton could be back, or maybe he moves over to the left side if he's back. Grant Newsome kind of hinted at that yesterday. So be interesting to see how Michigan's O-line and quarterback handle it. But I think they'll be more adept at handling it because, 1, the front seven's not as good as Oklahoma's, and 2, they've gone through that experience before. Yeah. So should we flip it over to the Nebraska offense against this Michigan defense?
I do have one more point I want to share, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Michigan has 2 things on offense going into this game that it didn't have for that Oklahoma game. The one is, like we already talked about, the run threat that Bryce Underwood brings to the table. They look willing to do that too. Also, Marlon Klein. We talk about helping the offensive line. We talk about being that safety valve over the middle of the field. And I think the middle of the field is going to be huge on both sides of the ball for Michigan. But those are 2 things that 2 weapons they did not have a couple weeks ago. And I think that's going to make a difference.
Klein Hansen, baby. Klein Hansen. I like that combination at tight end.
Absolutely. A great point, Anthony. I'm glad you brought that up. And Hogan Hansen, too, played 13 snaps, I think it was, against Oklahoma. He didn't look quite comfortable. He said once you get out there and you take your first hit, you're back to normal. And he said he was pretty healthy for that game. But he looked much more comfortable. I mean, of course, it was CMU, but he looked like he was healthier and everything and played more last week against CMU. So good to have that combination as to help Bryce Underwood out. I mean, you were on your 3rd, 4th tight end in the Oklahoma game. So great point there. Let's talk about Gametime, our official ticketing partner of the Wolverine. Football season is back. Tailgating is back, and Gametime is the best place to buy tickets. The Gametime guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. The lowest price guarantee, they have that. They will credit you 110% of the difference if you don't get the lowest price initially with Gametime. I've used the Gametime app, get the Lions games, Tigers games. You can get in right now. I was looking at it. You can get in for $107, cheapest ticket for Michigan at Nebraska this weekend. So if you don't have your tickets, if you're thinking of going, if you're in the area, if you're going to make the last-minute trip, you can use Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code ON3, that is ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today.
Used them the other day, as a matter of fact, for the Tigers when they choked on applesauce against the Indians. I'm sorry, the Guardians again. Boy, it is the easiest. I'm not just saying this. It is so easy, guys. It's by far the best app out there. and I've used it many times. And damn it, AB, these guys better pick it up. The Tigers, if they choke this thing away, it's going to make me sick. So
it's brutal.
Derek Schoolball's on the mound today. I have no stress.
If they lose today, they lose the division. You heard it here first. All right. And by the way,
Derek Schoolball on the mound.
Where the hell are you, Clay? Do you have plastic underneath you? Looks like you're about to get whacked with that paneling in the back there. Have you looked around and scouted the room?
I got it. I got it scouted out.
All right, good, man. That paneling back there looks like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas. I'm a little nervous.
Next thing you know, I'll be in a body bag in Sea Caucus. But
Sea Caucus, that's right. So, all right, what's next?
Let's talk about the Nebraska offense going against this Michigan defense. Dylan Raiola, 2.0. The sophomore year for him, fourth in the country right now, 76.6% completion rate. He's thrown for 829 yards, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions, which is important because he had 11 last year and really struggled turning the football over. But he's only been pressured 17 times. That's 16.8% of dropbacks. He's averaging 2.7 seconds to throw. You watched the Houston Christian game last weekend, and he gets up to the line. He surveys the defense. He takes the snap. He knows exactly where he's going with the football. It just looks so easy and so comfortable. And to me, I think of even how easy and how comfortable Michigan looked against New Mexico in week 1. And then you go in week 2, it's like they're playing a different sport when they have that sort of resistance. So this will be Dylan Raiola's first big test in his sophomore year. The Cincinnati game, not quite to this level. Now, Dylan Raiola 2.0 has much better receivers than they had a year ago. They bring in Dane Key, who I believe led Kentucky last year in receiving, but 715 yards, 2 touchdowns. Neziah Hunter, Cal transfer, had 578 yards and 5 touchdowns. Ja'Cory Barney was already a factor for Raiola last year. He comes back as their top returning receiver. The offensive line is better. They bring in Rocco Spindler at right guard from Notre Dame, who has played well. If you look at, I think he was one of the highest rated guards in PFF last week and all this stuff. Emmett Johnson, the running back, is solid. Maybe not a dynamic running back, but this Michigan defense, I think you don't have the threat of the quarterback run as much. They did run one on a 3rd and 2 last week. He pulled it, got the first down, but he's only rushed a few times outside of a couple sacks. And, so he's not going to bring that threat as much to the table. But you have a really good receiving core that you're going to be going against. Your guys' thoughts on this Michigan defense in this game?
It's hard to know what to think, right? Really, I expected them. The haircut. I expected them to be much better against Oklahoma. And it was really disappointing, frankly. They got handled up front. And I mean, there was not a whole lot of time where there were a lot of stalemates. There wasn't a whole lot of time they got pressure. When they did, it was usually with a blitzer. It'll help having Jayshon Barham out there from snap 1. You got to keep him in the pocket, right? And I think that's going to be one of their goals on Saturday night, on Saturday afternoon, to do just that. So I can't put a whole lot of stock into statistics here when you are playing a bunch of patsies, right? So to me, this Michigan defense should be much better much bigger test for Nebraska, but it's going to come down to really 2 things, right? No holes in the zones that we've seen so far, even against the lesser teams. The linebackers and the safeties have had trouble in coverage and being in the right place. So that's an issue. That's got to be cleaned up. Hopefully we see some of Rod Moore, even if it's 15 plays, guys, right, on big passing downs or something like that, getting guys in the right place and lining guys up. That would be huge. It'd be great to have him back. And then making sure that you don't let Raiola out and hurt you with his legs a little bit and do some unscheduled things. So I'm not real concerned about the Nebraska running game. I think Michigan will be fine against the run. But you know what? They were fine against the run for the most part against Oklahoma, with the exception of Mateer. And so we'll see what happens. But I do think that Nebraska is going to score some points. I do think that this is going to be jacked up again. You can only ride emotion for so long in a game. But I do think they have more weapons here, and can't let the ball over your head, guys. No easy ones. Holding to field goals instead of touchdowns, all the basics. And then I think this will be a 4th quarter game.
Yeah, I talked about this earlier, how I think this game needs to be won over the middle of the field for whatever team does it. Dylan Raiola, between the numbers from 0 and 10 yards. These are numbers from Pro Football Focus. 26 of 32, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns. Between 10 and 20 yards, he's 8 of 12 for 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 149.3 NFL passer rating. And then to the right of that same zone, between 10 and 20 yards, 4 for 5, 50 yards, 2 touchdowns, similar passer rating. Michigan is going to have to be much more stout in its pass coverage over the middle of the field. And I'm looking at a guy like Ernest Hausman, who, he's a storyline in this game. Nebraska, spent his freshman year at Nebraska. I think coverage-wise hasn't been great this year. Was not very good in coverage against Oklahoma. You think of back to week 1, how New Mexico's tight end got going over the middle of the field. This is where I think that Michigan can sort of throw a crowbar into what Nebraska and Dylan Raiola want to do offensively is defending that middle of the field. And listen, they're pretty content. Oftentimes when we're talking about these really good quarterbacks and these really good offenses, you talk about, make them drive the length of the field, make them dink and dunk their way down the field. Nebraska can do that. But once you get in the red zone, if you can kind of take away their run game, you shrink that field a little bit, force field goals instead of touchdowns. That's always a key in football. But I think in this game specifically, Dana Holgorsen, not a guy who's just going to have Dylan Raiola throwing bombs down the field. They're gonna try and dink and dunk their way down the field on that Michigan defense. And Oklahoma was able to do that a couple weeks ago, and those gotta have it drives. So that's the biggest key to this game for me, is getting off the field in those third and mediums, those third and longs, and just not getting got over the middle of the field.
Yeah, it could come down to, like you mentioned, right, when they get in the red zone, where that's an area Nebraska's trying to improve. They've gotten in the low red zone a couple times this year, haven't converted, had to settle for field goals. That happened on the first drive of the game against Houston Christian last week. It happened, I think, third drive of the game against Cincinnati. They are at the 1, they have a false start, and then they don't convert, and they kick a field goal. So those 4-point swings could be a big difference getting off the field on short yardage situations, whether it's a 4th and 1 in the middle of the field or 3rd and 2 or whatever it is. And I like Michigan there in those short yardage situations. Nebraska did struggle to run the football against Cincinnati, just 3.1 yards a carry, 36 rushes, 110 yards. Didn't look like a very dynamic offense overall. They scored 20 points. One of their 2 touchdowns came on a short field, 25-yard field, after recovering a fumble. So if they do put up a lot of points, that would surprise me, because they feel like an offense is pretty efficient. Raiola is much better than he was a year ago at getting the ball out, knowing where to go with it, and having better weapons. But I think if this Michigan defense can get pressure and just kind of change the game here and not allow them to go down the field, and then maybe bow up in some of those big situations, I think that's a key for this team. Anything else on the Michigan defense heading into this one? Like we said, Jayshon Barham, look for him more at edge rusher. Rod Moore, see if he can play and what kind of impact he'll have in this game. Those are things. Barham could wreck the game. I'm interested to see what he looks like at edge against a Big Ten opponent. But anything else?
Would love to see them not get beat on a double move this week for a big play, like we've seen with Jair Hill in the past, and even Zeke Berry against Oklahoma. Keep an eye out for that. Don't let the ball over your head, guys.
Just need to get more pressure. Those edge guys need to be more disruptive, and maybe that's why Jayshon Barham gets a little more run there last week. But just need to be more disruptive there.
Yeah, where's Derek Moore been, guys? Come on, Derek, get out there and dominate. Do what you're supposed to do. Maybe he's banged up or something, but get out there and start bullying people.
And worth mentioning, Nebraska's kicker. He's 4-4 this year. 52 is his long. He made that at Arrowhead against Cincinnati. Came in from Charlotte, so believe Biff knows him pretty well. But he was 14-20, 49-yard long at Charlotte. So he is a capable kicker. And their punter, Archie Wilson, this kid is ridiculous. Kid out of Australia, freshman, never played football before. He kicks with either foot, and he's pinned opponents on pretty much every kick opportunity he's had this year to do so. Kicks it lands in bounds, and just juts to the side and goes right out of bounds. He is an unbelievable punter. So Nebraska special teams are fixed, so to speak, so far. They had 10 kicks or punts blocked last year. I don't believe any this year. But special teams, of course, always important, especially when you go on the road. I feel like you at least don't want to make the big mistake if you're Michigan, and Michigan's punt return has to get cleaned up quite a bit.
And the punt game. And the punt game needs to be better.
And the punt game.
And that's one of the reasons that this game gives me pause as well.
For sure. Let's make our predictions for this game. We'll get our offensive player of the game, defensive player of the game, our X factors, our final scores, and is all brought to you by BetMGM. The Wolverine is teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app, sign up using bonus code ON3, deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3 and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.
Now, wait a minute. Why don't you just tank your bet? Right? Don't you want to lose the $10 so that you can get the 1,500? How's it work, Clay?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, we probably better not go there. So
the point is just pump as much money as you can into it.
There you go.
That's the lesson here.
Yeah,
that's right.
Thanks, guys.
Offensive player of the game. I'm going to go with Justice Haynes in this football game. I think Michigan's going to be able to run the ball pretty effectively against this Nebraska defense. And Justice Haynes has just been incredible. 5th in the country right now in rushing yards. I think he has a big football game.
Justice Haynes is my pick as well. I think he's going to go on over 100 for the 4th straight game. I think that would make him the first back in Michigan history in his first 4 starts to do so, if I'm not mistaken, unless Tyrone Wheatley had a 4th game of 100 yards in 1992, but I don't think he did. So, but I do think there's going to be some room for him. I do think that opening up the offense like they do and making Bryce Underwood a weapon in the offense is really going to loosen things up. So in that respect, I think Justice Haynes has a big day.
I sort of hit on it earlier, but I'm going to go with my guy, Marlon Klein, to have a big impact, both as a run blocker and also 4 or 5 grabs on Saturday as well.
Nice to see him back last week. That was huge heading into this one. My defensive player of the game is going to be Jayshawn Barham. He is just an animal when it comes to just kind of letting him run and get off of a block and go after the quarterback. We'll see how it translates. Nebraska's got a 6'10" tackle. They got a 6'8" tackle. I've never seen a tackle 6'10", but they have one. Will he be able to just get right around those trees? I think there's a good opportunity there. Or will they kind of, catch him up and slow him down a little bit? But I think Jayshawn's going to have a big game.
I think Ernest Hausman is going to shine going back to Nebraska, and I think he's going to atone for that disappointment, frankly, at Oklahoma. So I think Ernest is going to be all over the place. I like your Barham pick, but I'm going to go with Ernest to come up big against his former team.
I was going to go with Ernest as well for all those reasons. He's a team captain. I don't think he's played super well this year, especially in coverage. I think that this is a game where he shows out.
Anthony, let's go the other way around. What's your X factor?
X factor in this game?
Oh, you might.
I mean, he's not much of an X factor. It's Bryce Underwood and how his legs affect the offensive game plan, how much of that they use. I think that really on both sides of the matchup, whatever staff gets a little more creative, a little more aggressive with how it's used its quarterback, I think that'll be the one that wins the game.
It's a good one. I'm going with special teams though. And I just, I give the edge, unfortunately, to Nebraska at this point. And in a tight game, guys, how often does special teams make a difference? Dominic Zvada's got to make all of his kicks, all of them this week. Dominic, you heard it here first, buddy. Step it up. But he's kicking, he's hitting the ball well. He's just missing by a hair, left or right. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think he will be too. My X factor is also not a player this week. It's a play. It's the flea flicker. We haven't seen one from Michigan so far this year. And I was looking this up. Since 2021, the teams to run the most flea flickers, number 1 is 2021 Michigan State, but number 2 is 2023 Michigan. Number 3 is 2024 Michigan. And number 5 is 2021 Michigan. They've run a lot of them, especially in these big games. They bring them out. I think Sharon Moore was obviously a big part of that in years past. They bring one out in this game. I looked it up too. North Carolina ran 2 when Chip Lindsey was calling the plays. Only 2, 1 a year. 2023 went for an 18-yard gain. 2024 went for a 17-yard gain. Could be on a big play this week.
Now they can't run it because you told them it might be coming.
Right. Way
That's
to
right.
go. Clay just gave away the game plan.
Their coaches are watching this.
Guys in there with the paneling there in plastic. All right.
Yeah, that's right. Their coaches are definitely watching, and I definitely know what plays Michigan's going to run. So let's pick some games. No Man Knows the Future is our final.
What about our game pick?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. The Michigan game, of course. Michigan minus 2.5 in this game. They are favored. What are your guys' picks for the final score? I'm an idiot.
You're not an idiot. I think that, I hate to say it, guys. Until they do this on the road in this kind of environment against a solid team, I'm not feeling comfortable. Now, maybe they turn them loose and maybe they play a clean game. Maybe that offensive line surprises me. I've got Nebraska winning 27-23. I do think they get to 27 points somehow. And in a reversal of the 1985-86 Fiesta Bowl, actually, when Michigan beat them 27-23. So I think Nebraska wins its first game against a ranked opponent since Carol Frost was a 68 Olympian or whatever.
Yeah, it's another one of those coin flip games. I just feel like I tried to say this kindly. Pick in. So much about this Nebraska, the hype coming into this game just feels a little bit manufactured to me, whether it be, the Patrick Mahomes lookalike contest, whether it be the head coach is a podcaster now and he's rocking a chain on the air. Super cool, by the way. But they just haven't played anyone. I feel like they haven't, that was a test for them in week 1, going technically on the road and playing Cincinnati, but Akron and Houston Christian, that doesn't do anything for me. I think this Michigan team is a little more battle tested. I think that their defense will play its best game of the season to this point. And I have Michigan going down to Lincoln and winning 24-16.
I like it. And by the way, Harbaugh had a podcast too. He just didn't wear it. Well, he did wear it.
Yeah, well, they went 8-5 that year. So
it was a couple years, but I enjoyed the pod. But anyway, I got Michigan winning 27-17 at Nebraska. I think the defense shows up and it plays a really good game. I think the Michigan offense does enough in this football game to get to 27. That would take some help from Dominic Zavada in the special teams game as well. But I have the Wolverines winning. I think that they're the better team. And like you said, Nebraska played Cincinnati. That was a home game for Nebraska. Cincinnati was on a silent count wearing their home uniforms. That was a home game for Nebraska. So, yeah, I just think Michigan's experience in Oklahoma will have benefited them for this game. But more than anything, I think Michigan's a better football team. They have the better defense, and they're going to show up. Now it's time for No Man Knows the Future. We'll pick 4 games from around college football. Updated standings with a 3-2 week last week. I'm now tied in first at 8-7. Both Chris and Anthony 1-4 last week. Anthony, you're at 3-12 for the season. Chris also at 8-7. So we have a little bit of a battle at the top and a lot of golf left, a lot of football left. Anthony, it's fine. We'll get you back in the mix here as the season goes along. I know I'm good for an 0-5 week at some point here. We'll start with number 22 Auburn at number 11 Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a 6.5 point favorite. Over under is 57.5. 3:30 on ABC. I'm going to go with the Sooners, and their old quarterback Jackson Arnold's coming in to Norman. I think they're going to beat him by more than a touchdown.
I agree with that, and I want to go back and look at the 1-4 because I don't think that's accurate. I'm going to go back and look, and so watch yourself there, Clayton.
What game? What game wasn't accurate?
I don't even know what we bet. I'm BSing, but I just don't like the sound of 1-4. So, but I do like Oklahoma. I think this team might be legit, a little bit more legit than I thought. But we'll find out here in the next few weeks. It's a tough schedule, but at home, I like Oklahoma to cover that 6.5.
I like Oklahoma as well. I think they're very good. I think they're college football playoff good. So that's my pick.
Number 9, Illinois at number 19, Indiana. Traditional 2 Big Ten powers. Indiana's a 5.5-point favorite. Over-unders 52.5. This game 7:30 on NBC. Anthony, start us off on this one.
I'm gonna go with Indiana. I didn't like how they played in their opener, but Kurt Signetti, he just wins. Google him, and it's a home game for them.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I mean, the guy might be kind of a tool, but he's absolutely right. He does win, and at home in that atmosphere, although they are starting to sell more tickets, right? I think that they kind of lumped the basketball and football tickets together. They're starting to sell out those football games. So, but I like Indiana. I like Signetti in this game.
It was a solid environment last year when we were down there, and this is a big game. I got Illinois covering. I haven't watched any of Indiana. Mendoza's been pretty darn good, but I'll go with Luke Altmaier and the Fighting Illini. Pretty decent quarterback matchup in this game. Next game, Florida at number 4, Miami. Miami is a 7.5-point favorite. Over-unders 51.5, 7:30 on ABC. I will go with the Hurricanes. I'm just going to keep riding them until the wheels fall off.
They're gonna blow them out of the water. So Billy Napier is going to be on really. He's not long for that job. So Miami's going to just run them off the field.
I feel similarly to Miami that I do to Oklahoma. I think they are a playoff team, and I think they might beat the brakes off Florida, and someone might pay that Billy Napier buyout by the end of the weekend.
Maybe Andy Staples will pony up.
There you go.
Last game that we will pick, Michigan State at number 25, USC. USC's an 18.5-point favorite. Over-unders 56.5. 11 p.m. on Fox. I'm excited for this game just because of our jobs. You like the late games to watch those after we're done writing. Chris, who do you have?
It's a tough one here, guys. It's tough to go out there and play 11 p.m. Talk about a lack of respect, right, for a program if you put them on at 11 p.m. So, and for that reason, nobody puts Jonathan Smith, that little ball of fire, on at 11 p.m. and doesn't pay a price. I think Michigan State keeps it within 18.5.
I'm going USC. That won't be the pick I put out when I do the Big Ten bets this week. That will be the point total, but I do think USC will cover that number.
Yeah, I was torn on this. It's a lot of points, but if it's 40-20 or something like that, that means USC covers. So I will go with them in this game. I think that something like that is possible, but I'm going to take the Trojans at home in a late kick on Michigan State body clock time. So I'll go with USC. That is going to be our show for this week. Remember, Anthony will be back. Anthony, when's the post-game show with Ryan Van Bergen?
TBD, but it will happen Saturday night.
Okay, so stay tuned for that here on the YouTube channel. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel as well. Head to thewolverine.com. We'll have all of your Michigan football coverage over there. Use the promo code UM1. That is the UM and the numeral 1 for 2 months of premium access for just $1. And we will see everyone next time.